Join us on the program right now, Sandy Froman, past president of the National Rifle Association. Sandy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Cam.
It's good having you on the program.
I know.
Okay, and you're in for a treat because we sat down, we pulled sort of the greatest hits from the oral arguments today. We had 15 cuts. We've gotten through 10 of them. And I thought we could share some more with you. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, so we're now up to Mr. Gura's argument, or the questions that Mr. Gura faced from the justices. And there was a portion of the argument where Justice Breyer referred back to, he says, why now when, say, keep and bear? I mean, I think you're onto something here because you say, let's use our common sense and see what would be the equivalent today. Fine. And then he starts talking about a law in Massachusetts in the late 18th century. And I found this to be a rather incomplete argument. I'm curious as to your thoughts, Sandy. Take a listen.
If we know that at the time, in 1789, Massachusetts had a law that said you cannot keep loaded firearms in the house, right? And you have to keep all the bullets and everything and all the powder upstairs. Why did they have that law? To stop fires, because it's dangerous. They didn't have fire departments. Now we do, or they weren't as good. We now have police departments. And the crime wave might be said similar to what were fires then. And therefore, applying the similar kind of thing, you say, fine, just as you could keep pistols loaded, but not loaded, you had to keep powder upstairs, because of the risk of fire. So today, roughly, you can say no handguns in the city because of the risk of crime.
All right, so that was Justice Breyer. Now, I got to tell you, Sandy, as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, well, if you say that we now have police departments and the crime wave might be said similar to what fires were then, in essence, this would be a ban on fire extinguishers.
Rather than a ban on guns.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you're going to draw that comparison, then this would be like the District of Columbia banning fire extinguishers. It's not the guns that cause crime. It's the criminal.
Well, and also, I guess I have another problem with the analogy, which is he says that fire departments, they didn't have fire departments, and fire departments would have stopped the fires. Well, fire departments wouldn't have stopped the fires. The fires would have started, and fire departments would have come hopefully to put them out, or if not, to investigate the cause of the fire after the house had burned down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, in essence, we all know that the police have no obligation legally to protect any particular person.
Yes.
Their obligation is to protect society and to hopefully catch the criminals after the crime's been committed. That doesn't do you any good as a person if you're the one who's there when the crime happens and you're the victim. It would be like saying, let's ban personal fire extinguishers. You can always call the fire department, and you should rely only upon the fire department to come to your home and put out a fire if a fire starts.
Yes, but
personal fire extinguishers are too dangerous because you might hurt somebody with them.
Exactly. The foam comes out at a high rate of speed. You could blind somebody if they get the chemicals in their eyes, and it is not worth the potential casualties to have personal fire extinguishers in the home.
And we've seen people who've actually used personal fire extinguishers to assault other individuals. And we want to stop that kind of crime, so we're going to ban personal fire extinguishers for everyone.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad to know that I wasn't the only person. I have to tell you how excited I was, though, to listen to a Supreme Court justice make an argument and say, no, I think you're wrong. That was really cool from a layman's perspective. Okay, so the next soundbite we have in this mic is cut number 11. For those of you following along at home, it's page 78 of the transcripts, and this is when Justice Souter asks Mr. Gura, can we look to current conditions like current crime statistics when determining whether or not the D.C. gun ban is unconstitutional? And here was Mr. Gura's response.
Can we also look to current conditions like current crime statistics?
To some extent, Your Honor, but we've certainly seen a lot of...
Can they consider the extent of the murder rate in Washington, D.C. using handguns?
If we were to consider the extent of the murder rate with handguns, the law would not survive any type of review, Your Honor.
All the more reason to allow a homeowner to have a handgun.
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Whose judgment is that?
That was not the question is whether they may consider those statistics, and I take it your answer is yes.
While those statistics might be considered in some way, the fact is that at some point there's a role for judicial review, and you can't simply grab a statistic. And some of the statistics that were used here are very weak, and studies that have been rejected by the National Academy of Sciences repeatedly.
All right. Now, you also heard, by the way, Justice Scalia chime in there and say all the more reason to allow a homeowner to have a handgun, which had to bring a smile to your face, Sandy.
Of course, and you know, the argument is you have to look at both sides of the equation. Life is a risky business. There's always a cost and there's always a benefit. We'd all be a lot safer if we stayed in our homes, padded the walls, never went out, never encountered anything. But that's not life. That's not living. So you always have to weigh the benefits and the risks of any particular activity. And of course you can consider the statistics. I would agree with that. But on the other hand, you also have to consider the statistics of how many times legally owned firearms are used to protect people, to defend people, most of the time without a shot ever having been fired, somewhere between 2 and 2.5 million times a year.
Yeah, and I was going to say, a conservative estimate that was done back in the mid-1990s by the Janet Reno-led Justice Department found, 1 million defensive gun uses every year, right?
That's right. And people always want to say, well, if banning guns saves just one life, well, how about flipping it over? If allowing people to have firearms saves just one life.
No, it's a very good point. The gun control crowd likes to try to seize the moral high ground by saying, this is for the children, or in the case of now trying to ban semi-automatic rifles, it's a national security issue, meaning that if you're opposed to what the Brady campaign says, and clearly you can't care about kids or you don't care about national security as an issue, when it's the furthest thing from the truth. Because we care about our children, we want to be able to protect them.
That's right.
And frankly, it's sort of this emotional blackmail that the gun control crowd likes to put on gun owners, that if you own a gun, you can't care about kids, and if you care about the Second Amendment, you also can't care about kids. It's one or the other, when in fact the two go hand in hand. I may very well not be a gun owner, Sandy, if it were not for the fact that I got married and became an instant father and lived in a pretty crummy neighborhood in Oklahoma City, and wanted, all of a sudden, wasn't just thinking about my safety, and frankly, at that tender age, I didn't really think a lot about my safety. Now I was concerned about the safety of my 2 children. That's one of the reasons that prompted me to become a gun owner.
Your personal experience, Cam, is very telling, and I wonder how many people have had the same experience. Many young men I know, young, vigorous men, don't think of their own personal safety, and they figure that if they're with their wife, their girlfriend, they can protect her too. But when they start to realize that, let's say they've got a wife and a couple of kids, and now, the kids can't run that fast. You can't run and get away from a predator. You need to be in a position where you have a means of defense of your family, not just yourself, but your family as well.
No, absolutely. Honestly, it was practical matters like the layout of my home. When we first got married, we lived in the upstairs of a duplex, and to get to our place, you had to go through the front door and immediately walk up the stairs. You came into the living room. If you went down a hallway, the first bedroom you came to was the master bedroom, and then you came to my kids' rooms. I was the last line of defense. My wife and I were the last line of defense for our children. And so we thought very carefully about how we wanted to be able to protect them.
And the other thing, too, and I point this out when I talk to people about why you have a gun in the home for self-defense. If you remember the Cheshire, Connecticut home invasion involving the doctor, his wife, and the 2 daughters, the first thing that the 2 criminals did when they broke in was they disabled the husband. They hit him with a baseball bat and tied him up. They took him out of the equation. And I tell women that, one of the reasons to learn to own and use responsibly a firearm is, even if, your husband has a gun and he knows how to use it, he's going to be the first one who the criminals are going to go after. And you may be the person in the best position to protect your family and save their lives.